Oui, on est correct? OK. Ça va? OK. So, David Thompson, that's a great privilege to have you with us. So maybe just take some seconds to present yourself.
Okay, so I'm in a club with RÉZO because I'm an older gay man on PrEP. I don't know if RÉZO's on PrEP, but my older gay lifestyle fits on-demand PrEP very well. That's what I wanted to say, I'm sorry. You can tell I'm nervous.
Did you bring some English slides?
No, only French, sorry.
You apologize to this group.
Yeah, so I only have slides in French, I'm sorry, but I am of English, Irish, Dutch, and Scottish background, so I assure you I can answer questions in English at least. So, the people who put me here actually at the end were really smart because I have a big mouth and I can never compress stuff down enough, so last is always good for me. I'm a lawyer. I work with refugees. I'm on the board of RÉZO, and I chair the research, community-based research committee there. So there's going to be some overlap with my slides with RÉZO, so hopefully I'll be able to go over them quickly. Je voulais juste dire au début que j'avais eu un immense privilège d'être à Vancouver en 96 ou 98, à la conférence internationale sur le sida. Je ne peux pas vous communiquer à quel point c'était un moment charnière, intéressant et effervescent dans le monde du sida. On venait de découvrir que la tri-thérapie marchait beaucoup mieux. On venait d'avoir inventé le dépistage de charge virale. Et on avait vraiment l'impression à ce moment-là qu'on était sur le point peut-être même de guérir le sida. Les salles, j'ai des souvenirs d'avoir été dans les salles au centre de congrès, dos à dos, épaule à l'épaule avec d'autres congressionnistes. Il y en avait tellement d'intérêt qu'ils ont mis les moniteurs de télévision dans les corridors. Les gens se sont assis sur le plancher et ils ont regardé avec une attention rapide. J'ai un peu l'impression aujourd'hui qu'on se retrouve également dans un autre moment charnière avec la PrEP, sauf que l'alignement des astres n'est pas tout à fait le même. Et j'avance que s'il restait encore 15 ans dans le brevet de Truvada, peut-être on aurait le même momentum qu'on avait à ce moment-là. Parce qu'à ce moment-là, en dedans de 2 ou 3 mois, 75 000 personnes se sont retrouvées sur le tri-thérapie. Tandis que maintenant, après quelques années de la PrEP, on a seulement 145 000 aux États-Unis. J'ai une hypothèse que peut-être parce que Hypergay était faite par les Français, qu'on est un peu lente à implanter la PrEP sur demande en dehors du Québec et en dehors de la France. Juste pour faire un rappel rapide, bon, première phase, contrôlée par placebo, très controversée. L'efficacité était 96%. Dans le open label, c'était à 97%. Et ce qui est intéressant, c'est que les hommes au risque le plus élevé, y compris les chemsexers, étaient le plus adhérents. Ensuite, il y a 2 projets de mise en œuvre maintenant ou d'implantation de la PrEP, une à Paris, à Île-de-France, qui offre PrEP sur continu et PrEP sur demande à plus de 3000 personnes. Et à Montréal, on a une petite cohorte financée par Gilead avec 400 participants. Encore une fois, on offre un choix. Et il y a une demande aux IRSC. On aurait les réponses bientôt pour le convertir dans une étude longitudinale de 1000 personnes. J'espère que ce serait accepté. Bon, les avantages d'une PrEP sur demande, c'est que ça offre un choix de plus. possiblement moins d'effets secondaires, meilleur coût-efficacité, à la fois pour la santé publique, mais aussi pour les individus, parce que le groupe qui est manquant, flagrante dans le profil des personnes qui peuvent accéder à la PrEP, c'est le working poor, les gens qui gagnent 11 $ l'heure sur salaire minimum à Montréal et qui ne peuvent pas se permettre d'accéder à notre fameuse assurance médicaments universelle. Les désavantages, c'est qu'il y a une possibilité pour un suivi sous-optimal pour le dépistage des ITSS, possibilité de suivi sous-optimal pour les effets secondaires et évidemment, il y a moins de profit pour Gilead et les compagnies pharmaceutiques. Ensuite, ça, c'est une nouvelle chose. J'ai trouvé ça, j'ai beaucoup aimé ça. This is different with PrEP as compared to condoms. Beaucoup du monde sont ce que j'appelle les pharmacosceptiques. Donc, ils parlent beaucoup des effets secondaires. Ils ne veulent pas être l'esclave à l'industrie pharmaceutique. Est-ce que c'est juste une façon pour pharma de faire des immenses profits, etc. Donc, j'aime rappeler au monde l'impact énorme qu'ils ont eu des vaccins. Je suis assez vieux pour se souvenir des jeunes qui avaient du polio quand j'étais très jeune. Et en fait, I don't have polio, so I hope you don't either. Anyways, on y va. Mes recommandations, alors, je vous recommande, en tant qu'organisme communautaire et autres intervenants, de faire une promotion active de la PrEP sur demande parce que ça marche. Et si vous avez encore des doutes, vous êtes resté un petit peu sceptique, portez beaucoup d'attention à des études d'implantation. On aurait des résultats intérimaires très bientôt. Et je vous gage qu'on va voir que ça continue à bien marcher. Ensuite, je voulais toucher un peu sur les effets secondaires, mais j'irai juste... attends, je vais sauter un peu. J'avais ici. Il y avait un article fascinant et une présentation à la conférence internationale sur le sida à Paris cette année, en juillet, qui concerne les effets secondaires, le syndrome de Fanconi, qui est vraiment un échec rénal majeur. C'est un problème de santé sérieux. Et en fait, dans une étude rétrospective de 1400 quelques patients, il y en avait 13 cas. 9 des cas étaient des personnes vivant avec tout le monde était vivant avec le VIH et ils avaient une combinaison avec le ritonavir. Si tu enlèves ça, en fait, l'incidence devient de l'ordre de 2 personnes par 1000 personnes années de suivi. Et le conférencier a dit ceci: all of these cases could have been spotted with a cheap urine dipstick test at every HIV checkup. D'où l'importance, quand vous êtes sur la PrEP, de venir tous les 3 ou 4 mois pour un suivi non seulement des ITSS, mais la fonction rénale. Et je pense que nous avons un devoir dans le milieu communautaire d'informer nos PrEPsters, de demander, parler à leur médecin, demander les analyses d'urine et du sang. Ensuite, j'avais des chiffres de hypergay. Et l'étude était petite. Il y a 4 cas qui ont arrêté pour des effets secondaires liés aux médicaments, donc 3 à cause des niveaux de créatinine élevés dans le sang. En fait, mais il n'y avait aucun cas de syndrome de Fanconi observé. Dès que les gens ont arrêté le Truvada, la fonction rénale est revenue à la norme. Ensuite, alors, j'en ai déjà parlé de ça, de recommander aux gens de parler avec leur médecin vis-à-vis fonction rénale. Je veux utiliser l'étude Discover et notre expérience à Montréal comme une étude de cas. Je vous dirai dès le début que c'était un échec de point de vue de RÉZO globalement. Pas tout, mais globalement, c'était un échec. Mais je crois que c'est possible d'apprendre de nos échecs. Et donc, il y a quelques leçons intéressantes à apprendre. Donc,
juste dire, c'est quoi Discover?
Oh, Discover, c'est c'est une nouvelle formulation de Truvada. Le nom du médicament, c'est Descovy. Et le motif principal pour faire l'étude, c'est qu'il croit, et c'est déjà mis au marché pour le traitement du VIH, il croit qu'il y aura moins d'effets secondaires. Oh, so I switch, okay, fine. It's not too difficult for me, okay. So yeah, it's a study, yes, so as I was saying, the Discover study is studying Descovy against Truvada, so at least there's no placebo in the control arm. Descovy is a new formulation of Truvada that is found to have fewer renal and bone density side effects in people living with HIV. They want to, it's a non-inferiority study, and they want to see is it as efficacious as Truvada as PrEP. And so that study is underway now. It started in October, and in November, 32 groups, community groups around the world, actually signed a letter asking Gilead to suspend the trial. And I'm going to give you the reasons why. RÉZO signed that letter. There was a period of 30-day washout, so that if you were on Truvada, you had to stop taking Truvada for 30 days. If we remember that the men that are on PrEP are a so-called high-risk cohort, there was concern that people would become infected by that, and so we wanted people to be able to move seamlessly from taking Truvada into the Descovy trial. We wanted them to offer PEP within the trial. We wanted them to revise their publicity because at different sites around the world, the trial was being advertised as almost as a means of accessing PrEP. And yet Descovy is an experimental medication insofar as its ability to prevent HIV is concerned, and we felt that they needed to improve the consistency and the messaging in their advertising. We asked for a distribution of a fact sheet that made a summary of that particular point. And we asked for formation or forming of 2 consulting committees. Gilead actually did agree to stop the washout period. On top of that, they worked with community militants to come up with a fact sheet, and finally they did form a consulting committee. That's interesting. We had an impact on a very large pharmaceutical company. However, when you recruit for a clinical trial, it doesn't all go at the same speed. This was a 3-speed machine. Recruiting for a large clinical preventive trial is a race against time because they set a limit. We're going to get 5,000 participants. Sites all over the world compete to make sure that they get their just allotment that they've been assigned by the company. So what happened was some sites didn't stop recruiting at all while they were waiting for the amendment to the protocol that the community had requested to come through. They just kept recruiting. Other sites waited, but they used a central ethics committee formed by Gilead, and once that ethics committee, which is subcontracted out, approved, they went ahead. Other sites decided to wait for their own institutional ethics committee, and that's the case of the research center at the Centre Universitaire de Santé, the Centre Hospitalier de l'Université de Montréal. And so those ones were naturally working slower and last. So we got ethics approval at the site that RÉZO was working with the CHUM in April, and on May 22nd, the trial was closed. We had a matter of days to recruit, and we were supposed to recruit 50 people. We only were successful in recruiting 20 some odd. Most of them rolled over from the Protège trial. So, RÉZO, in the meantime, was not inactive during this period of time. What did we do? We adopted a resolution at the board. These were our negotiating points with the principal investigator. We wanted to participate in the translation of the consent. We wanted to distribute that information fact sheet. We wanted formation of a community advisory board. We wanted the recruitment centered on people who didn't have an easy access to PrEP. So either people who had no legal papers in Montreal, they had no status, or people who were in the working poor and couldn't afford to pay the premiums in our universal drug insurance. We wanted a plan, a detailed plan for transfer of knowledge at the end of the trial and during the trial, and we wanted $50,000. So, just by the way. So, 5 minutes? Okay. So what did we get? Not so much. We didn't get very much, in part, I think, because the trial had to recruit so quickly and most of the people were just rolled over. Because we only recruited 20-some-odd people, the amount of money that Gilead paid to the investigator was much less than foreseen, so we didn't get the money either. And so, in all, I would say in December, we thought we were sitting pretty. We really had negotiated a good deal. The investigator was on side, and we were going to have good community involvement in the trial. And in the end, it turned out to be a little less promising. So, what's my message about this? Well, people know that in Quebec, sometimes I think Quebec is perceived as being a little less politically correct as the rest of the country. So we have an expression in French which is ne vendez pas la peau de l'ours avant de l'avoir tué. So don't sell the bearskin until you've killed it. And in English, they have a much nicer expression which is don't count your chickens until the eggs have hatched. So, and in fact, what we know is that if you combine provincial and federal big research grants, the probability that a single grant will get accepted in Quebec is only about 18%. And that's problematic because budgets have been decreasing for years. So I would say that what you could do as a community group, if you have the resources, is that there's so much information available now on the internet, on Facebook, on militant prep websites, etc., that you could actually begin to recruit people before the official recruitment begins. You can get people talking about it, people that are interested in participating. You could inform them so that they could at least ask questions at the moment of consent. And if you're lucky, you might have, say, 50 people already lined up, so that if you only have 15 days to recruit them, at least you can get them into the trial. Second part here, I'm changing subjects. Research for new tools in biomedical prevention. We're looking at long-acting injectables. We're looking at injecting little plastic buttons or tubes that work by osmosis via minor surgery into the inside of your thigh that will release the drug over a long period of time. And we're looking at a morning-after pill. Now, this is the big issue, and this issue existed at the time of the Vancouver AIDS conference so many years ago, and it's come back again in prevention technology. It is clear that the big companies that are working in this field do not want to have to do many more Descovy trials, because the Descovy trial is a trial of Truvada against Descovy. That means you have to recruit thousands of people in multiple sites for a long period of time, and it's a non-inferiority study. It's extremely expensive to do. So what they want is they want to test against control arms where there is no Truvada. They would do that in countries where Truvada is not generally acceptable or available, but the implication is that that means that research would move from here, amongst others, to poorer countries, less well-resourced countries, and we would use the research results from those countries to make drugs available here. That pattern has existed in the pharmaceutical company for years. That's the issue of distributive justice, and there are people in New York City who have been working on this for the last 5 years, and they seem resigned that we're going to have to go down that road. I think we need to have a lot of debate in the community first. For a cure, I'm almost at the very end. For a cure, okay, so most protocols require what they call an analytical treatment interruption. This is fascinating because many years ago now, about 10 years ago, Réjean knows more about this than I do. But if I recall correctly, I think there was a study called SMART, which was about structured treatment interruption in people living with HIV. At the time, it found that there was no clinical benefit to doing the interruptions, and perversely enough, there were actually more side effects, and not just the side effects of nausea, diarrhea, and gas at the beginning, but other side effects as well, were worse in people who did structured treatment interruptions. So I think there's many people living with HIV who actually want a cure. People will, someone said at the meeting that I was at in San Francisco last week, that people will line up for this. So this is going to happen. In terms of prevention, what's interesting, though, is if somebody is on a trial where they're going to have a structured treatment interruption, this is Canada. This is the country where we charge the most number of people who are seropositive in criminal justice systems. And one of the components right now for escaping criminal liability is to have undetectable viral load. On top of that, what about the partners? It's easy if they have a spouse, but what about if they have multiple partners? How do you reach those multiple partners? Those people in theory should be on PrEP. So, yep, okay. One last thing here. This is actually my last slide. This is a map of the United States which shows where new infections are occurring. You can see that the deep southeast is really, really dark. And this is, that's not a good choice of words, sorry. It has high seroincidence. And the groups that are most vulnerable are Latino men and women, black men and women, and to a lesser extent, transsexuals. In Canada, I think this pattern would play out again. It would be persons of color, racisés, as we say in French. It would be people who are Aboriginal, First Nations, and Métis. The working poor. In France, Jean-Michel Molina said just a couple of weeks ago that it was people from endemic countries, so immigrants. It is trans persons and young gay men. Again, the young gay men probably being a question of they don't think they're at risk, they're skeptical of pharma, and they're poor. So I can't believe I got through all these. Anyways, this was the beach in Vancouver 2 days ago in the evening, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for allowing me to come and speak. Thanks.
Thank you. That's the first time we respect his time.